What was that with my voice? Oh, apparently I'm going through puberty. I apologize. So, hey everyone, this is Big for Life. This is another day 8 of 10 of my 10 days of live streaming, and this is such a massive display of toys that I'm getting my brown background on the side. Martin Breton says, I'm a new fan of yours. It's TM Reviews. That's awesome. We got TM a fan. So he's up to 3 now. That's awesome. All right, cool. So today is prototype playtime. And people have been asking me about something like this for quite a while. But I have a lot of prototypes, as you can see, and these are over the years. These are not mine. They just end up being left at my house for one reason or another. They got returned. Hey, Clinical, I'm sorry it's like 3 in the morning your time. Thanks for always making it. But yeah, so I know there's definitely a niche group of folks who really love prototypes and collecting them. But I think as a whole, the Transformers community should know a little bit more about prototypes and just see more about prototypes and the development stage. Just so you have a better understanding and appreciation for what goes into producing those final figures that you oh so love or maybe oh so hate after all that time in development. One figure that's come up in recent mind that people have very strong opinions of is the MP51 RC and her you know divisive design on the chest and so forth. A lot of people have been posting on my previous live stream, last night's live stream. I don't know why, quote unquote, I don't know why they didn't change this, or why did they do this, or didn't they have enough time to change this? And maybe not. It really depends. And you got to understand, but by the time most people like us, the normal people, see these designs, they're so far into the development and production stage that it is massively expensive to change that, even for a company like as big as Hasbro and so forth. But yeah, I did want to show off. I'm not going to like transform any of these. The thing about prototypes in most forms, they are very, very brittle. They are loose. They have missing pieces. Some of them are assembled in a way that you can't actually transform them. They're only meant to show the design. Some are very, very, very barely standing. But I wanted to talk about, the subculture of prototype collectors. If there are any of you out here who collect prototypes, is that your thing? I know there are people out there that do that. Let me know what got you interested in that, as well as, what in particular figure do you have that you want to share that you have a prototype of? So, hey, Steven. Hey, I still function. What eventually happens to prototypes after it's all said and done? Do they get thrown away by a company? A lot of times they just stay with the company. They might stay with the designer, might stay with somebody who works on the team. It might just stay in the design studio, so they have something to look at. Because not everyone, just because you work on a team doesn't mean you get free everything, right? You don't get free copy of every toy. Yeah, TM, thanks. I appreciate it. He's been doing a great job. He and T-Man have been doing a great job moderating all these live streams that I put them on the hook for. So I appreciate it. Hey, MF Doomtree. MF Doomtree is one of the guys who is very interested in this throne back here. So let's actually just go through what prototypes I have. These are the majority of the ones I have left in my possession from mostly different TF cons. But let's start at the bottom here with little mini guys, and we'll get them out of the way. Most of these are very close to done. As you might imagine, since I do work for, I don't work for them in the sense that I don't get paid or anything like that, but I do their official video manuals, and I do help them out at TF cons and conventions and so forth. So as you might imagine, a lot of this collection is samples or pre-production releases from Ocular Max / Mastermind Creations. A lot of these are very close to finished. I've shown these off before. This is their Braun from the reformatted line. This is a very close to final. This is basically like a production sample piece. It's all tight. no looseness. Well, that's just by the design. There's no, the only thing that's probably missing is some paint apps, but even this one has some really detailed paint apps. They're not hand done or anything like that. So this is very clean, pretty much a final. So we'll put him off to the side. Let's see who else we got here. Yeah, Kato, I feel like you guys have a lot of fans coming into my live stream. If you're advertising or sharing that, I really do appreciate it. King Rouse, nice to see you as well. All right, so I'm going to try to be a little bit more mindful of the comments this time since I'm not transforming anything. So we'll take more pauses. We bought the robot says, wouldn't some of these be more like test shots rather than prototypes? Yeah, I just used the general term prototypes, but yeah, test shots, for those of you that don't know, are basically models or resins that are used to help kind of fine tune the design, whether it be the engineering portion or the mold tolerances, to test out the mold and whether it's actually coming out right and coming out with the nice details and so forth. So yeah, a lot of these would be more or less classified. Sorry about that. My phone mount is messed up this time. It's kind of loose. Actually, give me a second. Let me fix that real quick before I go on. But yeah, I'm gonna answer some questions while I fix this this phone mount. But let me actually zoom back then, since that will give you guys a bit of a better look at everything here. So yeah, starting again at the bottom, we do have some more MMC stuff, just like the Braun, the same mold essentially. Is there guzzle? What is going on here? Is there guzzle? What you can see at the bottom right. This one was pretty much a final release as well. The only thing is, you can see that the barrel was crooked. During transport, it was broken off, so I had to glue it back on. But by and large, this is, again, pretty much a final pre-production run. Here is their Ravage. Hey, Z-Frosh, how's it going? Evil Ash says Ben had too many cuts. I'm thinking he's talking about the X-Transbots trailer that Ben's Collectibles just did. Hey, Ewan, how's it going? Yeah, we just started not too long ago, so you're not too late. As you can see here, this one is a sample of the Ravage. Again, very close to done. This was another TFCon display piece. Real quick, I want to take a pause. I don't know if my wife and kids told me this week that they've actually, as they go to bed, have been tuning in to some of these live streams. So if my wife and kids are listening upstairs or tuning in upstairs, I just want to say hi. I love you. Go to bed. It's late. So yeah, sorry for the detour. We'll go ahead and talk about this figure. This is also a pre-production sample. If you guys remember Voodoo Robots or Voodoo Toys, they only did 3 releases, and they're all the same mold of the vans. So they did, I think they did a black Ironhide, Diaclone Ironhide. Then they did Solace, I think. Solace was their Ratchet, which is still my MP Ratchet of choice, just because aesthetically I think it looks the best. And then they finally released an Ironhide. So this is a sample that I got from TFCon. It's all blue, as you can see. You'll often see test shots like this in funky colors. It usually is not indicative of what the final colors will be. They typically just have test shots like this run in whatever plastic color they have lying around. So this obviously should be either red or white. But yeah, this one is very loose as well. This is the only one that I actually happen to have in alt mode, and I didn't want to transform it again for risk of breaking it. But this one actually feels pretty good, even though it's all blue. The tolerances are a little bit wonky, but still pretty good. All right, let's see who else we got going on here. Hey, Winston. Gabriel, how's it going? Gabriel is not my son, just to make it clear. Kato said, the ladies of the house are always spying whether you know it or not. Steven says, I really wish someone would make an updated MP Ratchet Ironhide mold. Cadsuck says, I do have Voodoo Stylus Ratchet from $70 from Toy Dojo. Not bad at all. Yeah, I think it looks great. But, you know, it's definitely a dated figure. Hey, New Tabby, how's it going? All right, let's see what else we have. We recently did a live stream of this. This was also one of my 10 days of live streaming, but it was the actual final release of Nemo. And I even talked about in the review, the live stream, that the face was changed. Everything else about this, even though I think it might actually just be regular plastic, even though it's gray like a lot of resins, it feels like plastic. It doesn't feel like resin at all. It's very smooth. So yeah, even this late in the stage where they were already fine tuning and running test shots in plastic, they made changes to the helmet or the face sculpt and the head sculpt. And that might have been, again, I'm just posturing. I didn't ask him about this. It might have been that they had alternate heads that they end up not running for one reason or another. So moving this off. All right. I'm just going to take both of these at the same time because they're both from the same line. This is from the Ocular Max Bruticus? Bruticus, right? Yeah. Combaticons. They're Combaticon set, the all-in-one combiners. And these were also felt like they were all done. Unfortunately, I have my other ones combined. But even as finished as these felt, if I had gotten these as retail, I would have been completely happy, more than happy with them. But they went so far as to add some more stuff, like fillers here, I believe. I think they added some paint here. They made some additional tolerance adjustments. But this felt like a final release. But even from here to the actual final release, they added a whole bunch of small details, paint, tolerance fixes, and so forth, that stepped it up just one more. Same thing here. It's very small things. I talked about how the final got rid of these tabs that were very difficult to actually kind of use. And it made it hard to actually, you had to lift this up when you wanted to use the ankle tilt. So they just got rid of that. They adjusted the mold to just get rid of this small little tab here, made it a much better figure overall. They put in a space filler here, which was a separate piece. I don't remember what else, but in general, they did a really good job of just fine-tuning these final details that, you know, if we hadn't seen the sample, we wouldn't have been able to if we had just gotten this, or if we hadn't seen the sample, we wouldn't have appreciated the final details and touches that they put into the final product. Let's see here. Let's scroll back. Love that swindle. Kato says, I agree. I love that section. Gabriel says, put this prototype in the shelf. In the shelf is unique to your collection. I don't know what exactly he meant there. Hey, Marcus. He says, hi, my name is Sebastian, even though his username is Marcus Zazinski. That's probably a reference to some show or something like that I'm not getting. Evil Ash says, whoops, I almost forgot to smash that like button. Thanks, you and TM, for letting everybody know. That reminder is always nice. I do always appreciate it. I don't honestly check the likes, but it does help me get more views and really just reach a larger audience. Obviously, if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. I'm going to try to do more. That's what these 10 days of live streaming are really about. Just trying to get back on track. I used to do like 2 videos or 3 videos a week. I've slowed down my collecting quite a bit, but I still want to start get back into being more consistent for you guys. At least 1 video a week, if it's not a live stream or a review or something like that. Sorry, Martin, what did you say? TMR, can you do a vid of your top 10 or 10 MPs ever? I know TM just released his top 5 and bottom 5, I think, or worst 5 of the year, so you can check that out. But mine is going to be top 5 winners and top 5 losers of the year. So it's not going to be best figures, but for some reason or other, whether they're winners or losers in my mind. And spoiler, it's not all going to be specific figures that are winners and losers of this year. 2020, we had a lot of losers. So in any case, I wanted to show off both of these. These are both samples. They're both at various stages. You can see just, well, obviously they're in different modes, but you can see just the coloration of some of the parts. This is when they were designing the alternate chest that he came with. He came with the tune chest, which I think is on here, the alternate helmet and stuff like that. So they were still using the base mold, which was much more refined, very close to done, but they still needed to develop the toy versions of some of the pieces, and that's why these are alternately colored. But these are also both in really good condition when they got sent to me. But again, one thing that you can see here between the differences is that this has the camo paint, which the final version had, while this earlier sample did not have any of that. All right, so let's move this off to the side. All right. Here's probably the loosest, well, maybe not the loosest, but he's one of the loosest ones that I have. This also came from TFCon. If you don't recognize it, it's one of the many versions of Prime that we have in the MP scale. This is Magic Squares Prime, and I forget what they call it. I know there are smaller ones called Freedom Leader. Maybe this is also called Freedom Leader. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you guys got to see this one. You can see all the alternate pieces. This one, I believe, is a resin piece that they stuck in here. And I'm not sure what parts of these might be resin or not, because it does look like resin, but some parts are plastic. So like in here, this piece is definitely plastic. There's some white pieces in here that are definitely plastic. So this is kind of a, I wouldn't say early, but probably towards the middle of their development phase. But this one's very loose. These parts are falling off here and there. So I might have missed it. Does anybody else collect prototypes that is currently in the chat? If you do, let us know that you're a collector of prototypes. And again, what do you have? If I had you on a live stream, a community live stream, would you be able to show off some of your prototypes with the rest of the group and tell us your story, your background? Again, this year, 2021, or next year, 2021, I want to do more community outreach and engagement where I have actual community members, not just friends of mine or other reviewers come on, but really just plain folk who've probably never been on YouTube before, just coming on and sharing like a talk show, a sit down where we talk about the topic that you're interested in. So if you're one of these fans that are interested in that, possibly getting invited onto a show, leave a comment or leave me a message on Facebook or Twitter and let me know. Instagram, send me a message saying, hey, I heard that you're looking for people who want to communicate, who want to participate in these live streams next year. I'm interested. This is the topic I'm interested in talking about, or this is what's interesting about my collecting habits. And yeah, we can chat it out. We'll try to put together a small group of people, maybe four people per session. And yeah, we'll get a topic and get it scheduled. All right. So coming over here, did I miss anybody actually saying that they collect prototypes or test shots? TM Review says, how do you even get a prototype? I have never had access to one. Well, for me, and for most people, obviously, in the third-party world, it's just people you know. A lot of folks that work TFCon, they get access to it. Ryan, who does the third-party panel, Downshift, I believe is his TFW name, he usually handles all of this stuff. He usually gets it shipped to him, and he has to deal with a lot of the problems, and we'll talk about the problems when we get to Grimlock. He's kind of the main attraction. I don't think I've ever shown him on the channel before, but sometimes the third-party companies are like, yeah, you don't need to send it back, or they forget to ask for it back, and then I'll talk about the story of this guy a bit later. But a lot of times it's just people you know. As far as non-third-party, those come up on the market quite a bit. And again, it's usually people who work at the company in some form or fashion. Maybe they left the company and they have these prototypes, so they just want to sell them. Because, you know, they are rare. What Grimlock is that? Has been asked a few times. So this is a Gigapower Grimlock. And this is the throne that they had shown off a couple years ago. I think like in 2018 or something like that. But according to MF Doomtree that's in the chat right now, they canceled it, and maybe another company will be doing it. But I don't really know the story behind it. I don't keep up with Gigapower. I have no real direct connection with them, so I don't really know the story. So yeah, going on here, we have another reformatted line. This is their Helix or Helix. I never remember how to pronounce it. But yeah, he looks quite nice. Again, funky colors, no real paint on here. You got the weird blue translucent here, and obviously a lot of times we'll have a lot of translucent plastic on figures that we don't really see or we don't really think about, like the car bots. Almost all the MP cars have translucent windows. Most of those sections end up being translucent plastic underneath and just painted. So you'll see that with, you know, Sideswipe, with Prowl, with Streak, and so forth. But this is a look at what it looks like before it gets painted up. Yeah, and this one was pretty good. Overall, just some tolerance issues that they had to fix. But this guy looks quite nice. Pretty close to final. All right, same thing with this guy. Not really much to say here. I did do a preview of, I think, all of these test shots / prototypes, whatever you want to call them. And they were all pretty close to final. MMC is usually pretty good about sending stuff like this to the conventions. And I've talked about in the past. I feel like MMC, Ocular Max, is by far the most community-minded or has the most community engagement. They still have a number of team members that are active on the boards. You know, I think Lazy Azza is one of the team members now. He does a lot of the color picking and stuff like that. He consults on the colorization of the figures. And then, is it RVDA? I forget. It's something like that. I know he was one of the designers, I think, behind that failed project that they had with the Fort Max. Yeah, which was totally disappointing that we didn't end up getting that Fort Max. I would have loved to see that come back, but unfortunately did not raise enough supporters to be able to push that through, right? But yeah, so, but as I was saying, MMC is at every TFCon. They always have a booth dedicated. They always have samples. They always have prototypes. They always have news that they're sharing. I can't think of any other company in the recent years that actually still does that, who has their own booth. A lot of them do send samples. Fans Toys will send stuff sometimes. Usually not early stuff, but you know, back in the day, Make Toys / a fans project, they used to have their own booth they helped run. They used to have a representative there that could talk to fans, and they were selling directly. We don't get a lot of that. Ocular Max and MMC is kind of the last remnant of third parties that actually do that, which is disappointing. Although Flame Toys has been very active in the last few years, but they're not considered third party since they are officially licensed. 3.0 and 3.8 have come recently. So let me scroll back a bit. TM says, at Pick for Life. Previous questions from the audience. Is the plastic quality different than on the prototype versus the final? Yeah, it really depends. Like the MMC ones that I showed you that are close to final, those are very much the same. And I know MMC has a very specific kind of formula that they've developed over the years about their for their plastics to make it, you know, sturdy and rigid, but not too heavy or you know, not too brittle and so forth. So I know we all have felt figures before that were like very similar in build feel and plastic feel, and you're like, I feel like this was the same company as XYZ company, and you're probably right, because again, they all have their own formulations of plastic. So you kind of get an idea, you kind of get a feel after you've been in the game for long enough into collecting, which companies seem to be maybe not the same as that company, but maybe a sister company or using the same factory at least. Martin Breton asks, anyone know if Fans Toys Blitzwing is coming out? Hopefully 2021. Hewan says, I collect prototypes because I have this project of releasing third-party animated figures and need some basis of how they create prototypes. Oh, yeah, that's interesting. So that's a really good topic. Let's move. Lazy Azza, I don't think Lazy Azza is AK at all. AK is, he's been on my streams before. AK has talked about how he's worked previously at official companies and official capacity. Lazy, I believe he was originally just a forum member who started saying, hey, your colors are kind of off there. And then they started consulting with him for advice on, you know, colors of their final products. Yeah, Baker didn't just answer that right after. I didn't see his reply back. Winston says, I really like MMC. How many prototypes like these are usually made? Oh, it really depends. I think MMC has told me in the past that they do, I think somewhere like in the neighborhood of 6, maybe 6. It could be more. I know that in the design phases, AK told me that he did like 13 revisions just before of Swindle. I think that's the one he did the most revisions of. But I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly how many they do. I don't think. And again, this is an iterative process. So if they make a test shot that ends up being great, they don't have to do as many different versions. Baker just says, I'm excited for MNC Fort Max. Azza says that he's still in the pipeline, but probably not until 2022. Oh, nice. Are you expecting more prototypes soon? No, not at this time. I don't think so. I haven't really been in contact with MNC a whole lot as of late. I do want to ask them if they can send me a prototype of any of their protective bots. Obviously, those are the ones I'm super interested in. Again, usually how I get mine are that they're displayed at TFCon, and they usually let me bring 1 or 2 home just to do a video showcase or to help me do the instructions early for them. Less and less have they been providing prototypes or test shots, and I usually get mine after a lot of folks out there already get theirs, like in the retail release. So, Dare 2727, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. A prototype's more a thing of the past, not seeing them as much as anymore. They're definitely not. It's just that the companies are just not sending them out much anymore. The reason being is that it's a double-edged sword, right? You want to build up some hype, so you want to put out some stuff there, but you also don't want to show too much that one could be a negative marketing. Some people might say, "Oh, that's how it looks," or that's how much articulation it has. I'm not interested. There also have been conceptions about stuff, people not knowing that it's a prototype or a sample or something like that, and not a full instead of a full release. That mistaken kind of identity of whether it's a retail release or not, and then people not being happy with that. And you might say, well, most people will say that, right? But again, not. It's a world economy now. Transformers is a worldwide phenomenon. So when I do reviews, samples, I'll say, hey, it's a sample, it's a prototype, it's in the title. But not everyone who watches my videos are English speakers or readers, so they might not get that. So that's definitely come back to me as feedback. I know Fan Stores used to release more early on. They've stopped doing that completely. The most we typically see is just samples at conventions nowadays, not released to reviewers like me or anything. So it's not that they're not doing them. They're still very much necessary for the production process. It's just that they don't find the value, the positive payback, or return on investment, I guess, is there for sending it out to reviewers and showing it. Yeah, and then TM says, yeah, they could be protecting the designs as well. I think there's probably less of that, mostly because unless somebody gets their hand on actual prototype, just from a review, probably not as much. Anthony Brown says, can you talk more about the prototypes you've seen but don't have, like the 6-shot you referenced previously? Did I reference a 6-shot? Oh, so I've seen a design. So I know... there were a design for a 6-shot that ended up getting scrapped, but I miss getting samples from Costco. Do Costco not do samples anymore? They do. I'm pretty sure they do. Anyway, sorry, we've been stuck on this same image for quite a while. I'll go ahead and bring out one of the newer prototypes that I have, or test shot that I have. This is also completely plastic, no resin here, as far as I can tell. This is was it Star Convoy, Galaxy Convoy? I never know. But, this is their Convoy from Mastermind Creations reformatted line. This one is quite loose, while some parts of it are very tightly tolerant. So you can hear the ratchets in the shoulder. Some of the lower body pieces are obviously not fully tolerant. And again, that's what parts of these are for, is fine-tuning the mold so that the tolerances do tighten up and you don't get such a wobbly figure. Making sure the molding cost, I've talked about this in the past, the molding cost is by far the most expensive portion of the production process. As far as I'm aware, it is a really big sunk cost because you're going to need a lot of molds. So if you don't know what molds are, they're like the big metal blocks that you pour plastic in, you inject plastic into to get the sprues or the runners, whatever you want to call them, to make your pieces of plastic that will be assembled into the final product. And depending on how big your figure is, you're gonna have, maybe MP size like carbot. Maybe I think they were saying like six or so, 6 to 8. But you could have way more than that depending on how big and complicated your figure is. So people have talked about parts count and how that is correlated to the cost of a figure. And that is because the more parts you have, the more molds you have. So it's not just about the total plastic amount, but how they'll be able to be produced in a single mold. So you can only have so much surface area on a mold, right? You're not going to have multiple layers on a mold. You have a top and a bottom, and they go together, and then you have the injection ports, right? So you can only have so many pieces, surface area-wise, on a single mold. I imagine that this figure, I'm just wildly guessing, but I wouldn't be surprised if it has something like, 15, maybe more molds, just because of how many pieces there are and how big they are. So yeah, figure complexity, engineering, design, that all plays a role in the cost of the figure. You may think, hey, this figure's super small, but if it has a lot of parts, individual parts, that's going to add to it, right? Oh yeah, and so Alan's a local here. He says the casting wears apart the more it's used. As you might imagine, the more you use a mold, the more it degrades. So you hear about mold degradation, and so repairing a mold or like adjusting a mold is a lot of money, or you might have to replace a mold entirely. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into the molding process, and it's super expensive. It costs one mold piece, I think, costs several thousand dollars. So yeah, Evil Ash says, "Don't suppose he has a base mode." I'm guessing he's talking about Star Convoy. I have no idea. All right, so I'm gonna get to Hewan says, "Do third-party designs created in-house or are being commissioned by designers outside of the company?" So there's a mix. As far as I know, a lot of times they're free agents. There are some dedicated, quote unquote, dedicated designers. X-Transbots, that line, I believe, is completely dedicated to 598 robots, although he does do some design support for KFC Toys. But yeah, he's basically dedicated to them. But AK, I think, does mostly work for MMC/Ocular Max. But I think most of them are free agents, and they'll sell their designs to whoever is interested in them. I definitely know that there have been various designers that have made designs for different companies, even though they may be known for producing a design or working for a specific company. They have designs that they've sold to other competing companies. Hey, Joe BR says, wouldn't there be master molds? So that depends. Again, because molds cost so much money, if you're only going to run 2,000 of them, it's unlikely that you'll dedicate molds for master molds that you don't use for such a small run, right? Like if you're talking about Hasbro, yeah, they probably have master molds. You talk about Lego is very well known for their molds and tolerances, how many Lego pieces that they produce per mold before they retire a mold. But again, if we're talking about third party, they're not doing 100,000 runs, or even in the high tens of thousands, right? They're doing the low thousands, maybe into the low 10,000s or something like that. So you're not going to dedicate all that sunk cost into a mold that you'll never use again, because you're just not going to get the value out of it, because you're not going to make that many to warrant a master mold. Yeah, Alan says the molds take a lot of heat and thermal stress, and as you might imagine, heat and then cooling expands and contracts. There are going to be cracks. Again, they're going to be degradation. Hey, Buddha, how's it going? I really wish Gigapower would have made that throne. Yeah, sorry. All right, so let's talk about this throne. Joe BR, like as we said, some don't even. Again, some don't warrant the cost of having a dedicated mold, because that's thousands of dollars. They're not going to recoup unless they do, many thousands runs. So I'm really far behind, I'm guessing. Okay, all right, we're caught up. So let's talk about this one real quick. I'm not trying to go for an hour today. Let's talk about this figure. So the story behind this is they displayed this at TFCon. Ryan at Downshift, at the TFCon staff member that does the third-party panels, he got this. He got to set it up. They displayed it. It looked awesome. It was like a year or two before the Grimlock released. But I got it because I think it was TFCon Toronto, and I had driven up there. I usually drive up to Toronto from the States, and instead of trying to deal with all that there, no, it might have been the U.S. because I think Ryan didn't want to have to take it back up to Canada, and I could just ship it from here somewhere, whether it's Chicago or wherever it was at that year, maybe DC. In any case, they asked Toy Dojo to go ahead and take certain samples and mail them back directly. So I took it back. I packaged it up. It's in a big box with tons and tons of styrofoam and bubble wrapping. They gave me the address and paid for the shipping company, the shipping account. Took it to DHL, sent it off. A month or so later, it came back, returned to sender, couldn't find the address. Toy Dojo tried to contact them numerous times saying, hey, we got your thing, we got returned to sender, what do you want to do with it? Because it got lost for a while, and Gigapower was kind of freaking out because I think they said at one point that this was the only test shot that they had, whether it was Grimlock or the throne, I'm not sure. But they were like, hey, we need that back because we need that for our testing purposes and design purposes. And so we were like, we sent it. It's gone. We sent it to you guys. And then it came back to me mysteriously. And they haven't asked for it in the last couple of years. And so it's just been sitting in the corner of my basement storage room, really just collecting dust and taking up my space. So I don't know what Toy Dojo wants to eventually do with it. Gigapower hasn't reached out. So yeah. So taking a look at this one's super loose and super broken. I feel bad for anybody who has to deal with prototypes or test shots that get sent. Because a lot of times the companies don't do a really good job wrapping it up. So this part's broken. These parts are falling off because they're not final. This is definitely a resin. Like, you can feel how rough it is. One thing I did want to talk about is if you guys are into 3D printing, 3D printing, rapid prototyping has drastically changed manufacturing worldwide, not just in Transformers. And not just in, toys and regular manufacturing. It has changed the way homes are being built and designed. It's pretty crazy. So this one's super loose. I've never tried to really mess with this. This is probably the most I've messed with it at all. But I wanted to actually talk more about the throne. Sorry, I gotta find some room to put this down. My floor looks really ridiculous right now, just real quick so you guys can see. My floor just has a ton of stuff now, so. All right. Oh, I better make sure that I plug this charger in so that we don't run out of battery. So this is the Gigapower throne. It came in a bunch of pieces. These are all numbered, so these didn't come attached, and you can see that they're numbered like 2. There's 9 different thin pieces. I guess red is for one side, blue is for the other side. I couldn't figure it all out. They're all loose and they're all floppy, and it's just more frustration than it's worth. In addition to what is there that I was able to piece together, there's a whole bunch of spikes that seem to want to plug in here, but they don't fit. There was an alternate Grimlock face mask. Let's see. There's a shield that fell off on the back. Oh, yeah. So I feel bad for anybody that has to deal with this, Ryan particularly, since a lot of stuff just comes completely destroyed. I know for a fact that a couple of TF Cons ago, I think it was TF Con DC, they got the X-Transbots Menasor combined form. They had a G2 one and a G1 version that they were going to show. And the G1 version came completely shattered, like completely broken. I don't know if they even displayed that one. I know they had the G2 one, I think. Or maybe it was the opposite. Anyway, they had two copies and one just came completely obliterated. And then they're stuck there trying to glue pieces together. There are no instructions, half the time. So they're like, what is this figure? What accessories go with what? I mean, it's got to be hell for them. I know a lot of people are probably like, I'm so jealous. They get to see prototypes and they probably get to keep some. It's a ton of work. I feel bad for them every time. It's super stressful. This part goes in here, tabs in somehow. This part here holds the sword, and this part holds the gun. This pegs in back here. The shield also is designed with these square recesses to peg in back here. And I think you can peg them in if you're displaying it as a throne or don't need this extra space for, I think, Grimlock's back, his dino head. So yeah, I mean, it looks cool, no doubt, but this is massive. It would cost so much money to produce this. I don't think they would have produced this in a traditional injection mold, but I could be wrong. But yeah, this would just be so much money. I can't imagine how much development cost they sunk into this. The design, the sculpting, the whatever molding that they've already had to do to accomplish this. Oh, there's spikes down here too. Maybe that's where they were supposed to go. Yeah. In any case, you get the idea. And these are the kinds of things that are really cool to see. And probably super valuable because if they're not really making it, obviously this is going to be kind of a one-of-a-kind or one of very few that exist in the world. I know MF Doomtree has probably commented a bunch of times, let me buy it or something like that. But again, this is not mine. All right, so I'm going to come back. Yeah, King Rouse says, be careful, Pake. Yeah. Alan says, it is nice, but the design looks really busy. Yeah, it's stylistic. I mean, it really depends. It's not like there's any basis for this throne, I don't think, right? Evil Ash says it's like the Game of Thrones chair. Yeah. What else we have? We Bought the Robot says, I've been trying to find a way to do hobby level injection molding for making figures. You can make molds from... So if you have a 3D printer, you can probably get started pretty easily. And 3D printers have come down in price so much that you might be able to do it. Azim, a.k.a. Vengsta, he used to make molding with Legos. So he would, make a block with Legos, and then he would put like that kind of molding gel, and then he would put the piece that he was going to make a mold out of, and then cover it up again with another layer. So he would have 2 layers of kind of the molding gel or something like that. I remember he showed it to me once, but it was really cool. It doesn't seem like it would be something that hard to get into for smaller figures, but yeah, it would get probably really expensive and difficult if you wanted to do it mass scale. But yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of tutorials on how to do this. Dare says it should have been a build-a-figure included with each Dinobot. That's not a bad idea. I think the whole build-a-figure notion is very smart, especially from the manufacturer side, because it requires, or at least entices people to buy whole sets. But Dinobots, I think most people probably will buy the whole sets. Combiners will probably buy most sets anyway. So I don't know that they're getting a whole lot of value from that. If they were including, you know, pieces of a figure across across characters or releases that aren't typically bought together or might not be considered a quote unquote set, that would make more sense. So I know Iron Factory has done that in the past as well. Sean Sadiq says, "Hey, could you do a Siege War for Cybertron figures if possible?" I don't really do a lot of mainline stuff, unfortunately, Sean. You might want to check out TM or T-Man 978. They do the main line. Although the new main line has been really good. The Kingdom and Earthrise, they've been really great. Oh yeah, grab a random carbot. I don't really have a carbot near me. Here is MP44, just so you get an idea of how big it is. You can see all the pieces on the back are just... Oh man, all right. So let's just move these pieces. Put down here. You can see just how big it is. He can stand on the throne and it's still not big enough to go to the top of his head. Barton says, "I would love to see ab fillers on Constructor. I missed them back in the day." Oh, yeah. Pake needs his version of Tiger Tracks. Yeah, I always use Streak. Streak is my comparison bot of choice. This is my second Streak. I don't know why I have a second one, but I do. All right. Clinical says Giga had to switch factory. So that probably wouldn't have worked. Okay. Yeah, it is super big. That's what she says. Yeah, it's considerably bigger than Prime. Which 86 figure are you waiting for? Already pre-ordered Scourge. So I'm not actually probably gonna buy the Studio Series 86, but Toy Dojo told me earlier today that they're gonna send me some for review. So I will do some of those because they're my sponsor, and I am interested in them, but I just there's just no space in my collection for mainline stuff, to be perfectly honest. It's just there's just no room. As it stands now, there's not enough space for the things I have. I don't open a lot of stuff I already have, so trying to collect mainline is just going to be very difficult. I do collect pieces here and there, so I probably will collect some, but most of them I will not. So yeah, that's really it. I don't have much else to show you guys. I'll bring some of these back in just so you can see them, but I'm not going to bring out the whole collection. You can see just how big this throne is, even compared to the Star Convoy. Yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this. This was something I've been meaning to do for a while. I wanted to share some of the background stuff. Some of the topics that I think were interesting that we talked about that I would like to talk in greater detail about at some point is kind of like the 3D printing. I think 3D printing has probably made this whole process a lot easier. You know, nowadays you can design something and 3D print it right away at your desk and see if it works or not. You don't have to worry about doing kind of a resin casting or anything like that. You can make adjustments on the fly. 3D printers are so cheap nowadays. I'm sure most designers already have one for hobby stuff, but for work, it just makes sense. You know, when they can build houses, 3D printing, the fact that they can, it shouldn't be surprising that they're using it to advance manufacturing across all industries, let alone the toy industry. Third parties must benefit from it a lot, given that, you know, it reduces their upfront sunk costs for a lot of stuff and reduces their iteration time, right? You can iterate immediately, essentially, on some of the designs, upfront design processes. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. That's going to be it for me today. I will have a surprise topic tomorrow. Surprise meaning that I haven't thought of it yet. possibly. I have a couple of ideas, but tomorrow's topic will a live stream will be day 9 of 10. And then New Year's Eve, I don't think I might do a morning one on New Year's Eve. I'm going to be doing my top 5 winners and losers of 2020. And again, that's not top 5 figures or top 5 worst figures of 2020. It's the winners and losers, which again may be figures, it may not be. So we're going to talk about that a lot more. But yeah, tomorrow's live stream will again be at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tune in. If I might reveal a topic, or I might just keep it secret, so you guys can you guys will be forced to join without knowing what it is. So it might be a review of a figure. It might be a topic that I'm just talking about. It might have a special guest. We'll all see what goes down tomorrow. But that's it for today, everyone. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to sign off for today. Thanks, TM, for moderating as usual. Thanks to all the people, new and old, who have joined. The last 60 to 70 of you who joined, I really do appreciate it. I'm going to keep going strong. And thinking about it, it's actually going to be 11 days of live streaming because early in the new year, probably January 1st, I'm going to do a topic on my most anticipated figures of 2021. So that's it for today, everyone. Hope you have a good one.